What's up, Power Painters? This is Taylor Payton of TayPayArt.com and PowerPainters.org coming to you today with another Power Painters tutorial. Now, in this tutorial, what I'm going to be showing you is just a quick little process I like to use in order to level up my art without going overboard in terms of painting like 30 hours a day or whatever, if there were, in fact, 30 hours in a day. Although there are not, there's 24. And you don't want to use all of them for art because you got to eat, you got to sleep, and you got to poop. So you got to figure out how you're going to allot your time in a way that's going to give you the most return for what you're putting in terms of like artistic ability, personal growth, things like that. And one of the best ways to do that as an artist is to do still lives. Now, still lives are potent exercises, as you know, masters have been doing them for centuries. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Donatello, whether you're sculpting. I know I just named most of the Ninja Turtles, but those were actual people, actual artists, actual masters. That's pretty common knowledge, but um, people like, let's see, who's not a Ninja Turtle, who's a master? William Adolphe Bouguereau or um, Edgar Degas. You know, these are artists who all at some point, probably for a long while in their artistic careers or their whatever you want to call it, they did still lives. And the reason for this is because they're amazing technical exercises. They teach you how to paint from observation and they teach you how to observe on a deeper level. Now, your observation depth and your ability to perceive is paramount as an artist. You need to be able to take what it is you're seeing and translate it into whatever medium you are currently pursuing. And I usually recommend no more than two mediums if you're trying to get better in a pretty consistent way. For me, those are tend to be digital and just sketchbook. I think that's the most straightforward, most versatile combo. Sketchbook can be, I usually use pencil, but sometimes inks. So I kind of split mine between three-ish, but I've been at it for a little while, so it doesn't take away too much. Anyhow, when I'm doing a still life, it's mostly about, like I said, technical stuff for me. So I'm squinting, I'm looking for edges that I can transition in an interesting way. I'm looking at the object and trying to understand the color temperature shifts and basically just using all of my perception in order to create something that is appealing and sort of a nice quick exercise. You can return to a still life night after night and just take your time and really get something very polished and rendered, assuming you have a strong drawing underneath it. But in this case, I just wanted to make a really quick demonstration so that you could get yet another exercise for your artist toolkit that will enable you to level up your ability in a consistent way and is scalable. You know, an apple is a very easy thing to paint when you're just starting. And there's always something new to look for in whatever it is you're painting. There's always a new discovery when you set up a still life. So if you are just getting started, you might spend even a year doing a couple still lifes a week in acrylic and digital paint, whatever. Really, you just want to keep increasing the complexity of the still lives as your ability grows so that you're sufficiently challenged but not overwhelmed. And staying consistent, this will allow you not only to develop your eye greatly, but you'll also see a lot of improvement in your technical prowess. So, like I said, I keep looking over at the apple because I just got done recording this and now I'm talking over it, but I was looking at the apple like frequently. If you ever been to like a life drawing session or set up a still life, you're basically referencing your object, going back to your painting or drawing, making a couple marks, and then re-referencing. But I'll talk a little bit about how I approach this painting. Basically, what I wanted to do was get rid of the white background, the canvas, and establish a focal point, which was obviously the apple. I didn't know what I was going to record today for the video, and so I figured I would just do a quick still life, and I was already eating an apple, so it kind of worked out. Um, I just decided I was gonna try to capture the the meat of the apple with all the interesting variations of color as it started to brown while I was painting, and just get the general shape in there and try to get some dimensionality while still being sketchy and painterly. Some things I did around the apple were like a pencil sharpener or part of my computer monitor, and these things are very background. I didn't spend a lot of time on them at all. This whole painting only took 22 minutes, and the background stuff is really tertiary to the focal point, which is the apple. That's where I was going to get most of my uh, experience points in tonight, if you will. But really, like I always talk about in every video, you have to you kind of pick your battles. You get a focal point going, and you know what you're painting before you go in. You know what you're going to polish up and what you're going to leave a little more undone, assuming you're just doing a little bit of a practice. When it comes to just studying, I think that usually define an objective really helps so that the practice is deliberate. And in the case of a still life, you really want to, like I said, get your squinting down. You want to train your perceptions higher, and you want to understand how to work your edges, how to get more and more comfortable with your medium, how to finesse your brushstrokes more so, and all these things really. You just kind of get into the flow of it and you keep doing them and they keep adding up. And pretty soon you'll note you don't need to look at life as frequently in order to see leaps and bigger jumps in your painting ability, mostly because you'll have an understanding, an internal picture of how light reacts on form and how light responds to different materials and how different light sources start to carve out that three-dimensionality. And once you get an inherent understanding of that, then it becomes a lot of fun to paint because you'll have a lot more, um, like I said, freedom. You'll have a lot more technical ground to run as opposed to struggling with fundamental principles and understandings, which is one of the more difficult parts when you're starting out because you know that there's things that are just you don't know how to solve the problems that you're going to run into. And typically there's the fundamentals were invented to solve a wide variety of problems or avoid them altogether. Things like how to understand composition or how to transfer edges around, brushstroke economy, values, all these things that I talk about in every video and that I go more in depth into in my courses, which are on Gumroad and CubeBrush, and also my personal website, tapeart.com. All those courses I made to give you those mental models, to allow you to see these different levels of brightness and darkness, these understanding of planes and how planes shift and give things three-dimensional form. These things don't usually come until you really elucidate yourself to the fact that these exist as concepts and you can build mental models out of those concepts and you can train your eye to see them. You can train your inner eye to reproduce them. So I think that a lot of art is really, really just being privy to those aforementioned principles, those fundamentals. Because without those, it's just really easy to make mistakes that are going to make the art lose appeal or make it look more, or how about less developed, less precise or concise. And I'm not saying that I'm like the perfect example of an artist who's greatly developed and all that, and my hubris level is definitely not that high, and I have a ton to learn. If there's one thing I want to master, it's being a student and staying humble, because then there's always more to discover. When you're green, you can grow, and when you're ripe, you're rotten. So you just want to stay curious. You really want to stay tenacious in your curiosity. And not only that, but your self discipline, your ability to look at something and find great joy just being present with it and understanding it and reproducing it in order to further your overall level of ability and understanding and application. It's really, life has the most to teach us. I think that if I could find like the equivalent in music to working from life in art, I think I'd be a pretty happy camper, man. Um, I still study different arts, different crafts, just because it helps me understand the learning process better, which is a big passion of mine if you watch the channel for a while, and I hope to get into more learning related videos soon. It's really, I think it's one of the most important things to be able to adapt quickly and to grasp fundamental principles and to build mental models that allow you to solve a wide framework of problems. The rest of it seems to be discipline, self-discipline, and mileage. Like I said, I've been doing art for a while, whether it was more consistent at times, less consistent at others. But I note that anything that you pour energy into and you learn the principles of and you stay consistent with and you challenge yourself and work just outside your comfort zone, you're going to see growth. And yeah, you're going to fail a lot, but the inversion of failure is success. You really can't have one without the other. So just keep moving forward. Just keep on evaluating the things that keep coming up that are problems, and solve them so that they stop appearing in your body of work and you can work on the other problems. And pretty soon the mistakes get so small, people start calling you a master at some point, because masters still make mistakes. The mistakes are usually just way smaller than people who haven't had the mileage and the self-discipline and the understanding and the learning. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about for this video. You can always set up a still life very quickly. I literally did this one on a whim. They don't take very long, and they're very, very healthy in terms of your artistic development. For reasons I mentioned earlier. Again, if you want to grab or acquire the beginner painting course, the beginner drawing course, the Art of Illusion course, or the Power Painters Platinum package, all those can be found in the description box below. Gumroad, QBrush, my website, all places people have grabbed courses from, and people have been emailing me assignments, and I give feedback and help you direct your abilities upwards so that you can reach your creative goals. So thank you for all the support. I appreciate all the subscribers, all the likes, all the love, all the comments. If you have questions, you can leave them in the comment box below, and I'll do my best to get back to you when I make a new video. So that's pretty much it for today. We are wrapping it up. I hope you enjoyed me ranting and painting an apple, waxing on art and philosophy and learning, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, Power Painter, and happy painting.